All right. I want to speak about Beis Knesses in relationship to Tefillah. I mean, the role of Beis Knesses as a place of prayer. I mean, of course. So we'll have to touch upon the basic aspects of kedushah Beis Knesses. Yeah. The question number one is actually, I mean, is there, would say, a requirement by the halacha that prayer tefillah should take place in Beis Knesses, or the halacha is interested in tzibur, in community prayer, congregational prayer, but tzibur. I mean, in contrast to prayer b'yochid, to individual prayer. But usually a tzibur assembles, of course, in the Beis Knesses, in the synagogue. But there is no specific, I mean, I would say, emphasis placed upon Beis Knesses. When the Gemara, so you may say that when the Gemara mentions Beis Knesses, it had in mind tzibur, community prayer, congregational prayer, in contradistinction to Tefillah HaYochid. Or I mean, there are two aspects.
You can assemble on me at your own home, and also you can speak kedushah, read the Torah, and you speak Shechinah, whatever we do with haknesses. And you can also repeat your private home with your 10 people. However, there is a specific emphasis placed upon tefillah. Even though the tefillah is up. Certainly, tzibur is the congregation and praising the haknesses, we achieve actually a double purpose, a twofold objective. Tefillah b'tzibur and tefillah b'Beis Knesses. You understand my question? No, I would like to hear your comments. Yeah, in the Gemara, let us take a look at the sugyas in the Gemara. For instance, let us take a look. The trouble is that I don't know. You have Gemara brachos, much better than the minyan gives. The Gemara daven domit Beis. Daven domit Beis. Look at the fifth line. Shelei odom bomin asore, a man should not come back from the field as a farmer is, from the place of business or from the shop where he works. Boerev, in the evening, ve'imer, and it says, elech lebeisi, I'll first go to my house, ve'echel kimo, I'll take a bite, ve'eshte kimo, I'll take a drink, ve'ishan kimo, I'll lie down for a while, I'll take a nap, later, after I'll get through with all these activities, I'll read Shema v'espal, I'll pray. What happens? Shechinah falls asleep. So a man shouldn't do like that. Shouldn't take like that. A man comes from business, in the evening, he goes straight to shul. If he's capable of studying, he studies a little bit. Means studying Tanakh, Bible, Mikroye. If he is acquainted with Mishnah, Shechinah means whatever he can do, he should study. Krishma, and he reads Shema, and then he goes home, and he eats supper, and says Berk Samozen. Fine, very nice. But the Gemara says, V'nichnas lebeis Knesses. Yeah, the question, there can be a double interpretation. Nichla Beis Knesses means lispal b'tzibur. But if there is no minyan in shul, so there is no need to go to Beis Knesses. You can go home and daven, follow the same sequence at home. Or the Gemara means Beis Knesses regardless, whether there is tzibur or there is not tzibur. You have it for this in the same daf. You have Omar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. The last two lines. The second line from the bottom.
Even though a man read Kriya Shema in shul, in the synagogue. Or again the same problem. What does Rabbi Shmuel even mean? Tzibur, or there is an additional value which is attached to the Beis Knesses. Now let's continue. I want to show you the problem. Daf Vov Amid Aleph. Daf Vov Amid Aleph. Tanya, learned, Rabbi Binyamin said, Ein Tefillah shel Odom or Tefillah shel Odom nishmas elo Beis Knesses. The Tefillah, the prayer of an individual, is acceptable only by Beis Knesses. Again, the same problem emerges. What is Beis Knesses here? It means actually the locus, the place, the synagogue, or tzibur. Or Beis Knesses is just a substitute phrase for tzibur. But usually, where do you find the congregation? In shul, you don't find the congregation in a private home. Shene'emar, Saposik Melochim, Lishmeya, you should hearken, Elorino velat tefillah. Should hearken to the Rino. What is Rino? Is actually Rino, very strange, the Gemara interprets Rino. Usually means not only singing, song. Rino means crying as well. Whatever you say aloud is Rino. Kumereini balaylo. You have a pasuk in. You have a pasuk which will attest to the meaning of the translation of Rino as son. Rino v'Yeshua b'olei tzadikim. Correct? The sound and salvation heard in the tents of the just ones. Yes, but you have a pasuk which actually a different connotation. Kumereini balaylo l'reish hashmeres shifchi kamayim liberechnecha pnei Hashem. The other pasuk is in Eichov again. The pasuk is not speaking, certainly not of singing, but of crying and praying, of supplication, of pouring out his heart before God. Understand, but here is Lishmeya Elorino velatfilo. His Rashi interprets Rino. Rino means bebeis haknesses. B'mkeim Rino shom teit tefillah. Wherever engage in Rino, you should also engage in prayer. What is Rino? On the contrary, those in emphasize when it's intercession and passionate. Intercession. When a man is in the air and intercedes with God, for quick help, for fast salvation, then you say Rino. Rino is more than crying. Kumereini balaylo l'reish hashmeres shift pour out like water. This is Rino. Tefillah is a disciplined prayer. So Rino is completely undisciplined, completely unlimited. Man submerges in prayer completely. He's wholly involved in prayer. This is Rino. That's what we understand Rino. The Pasuk of Shir HaShirim. And a matter of fact, Keil Rino v'Yeshua b'olei tzadikim is no proof. Keil Rino, first, the voice of prayer is heard. You don't have to say it to Yeshua. Combine them at a simultaneous performance. Of course, if you combine them, if you combine both terms, and you look at them as denoting and having the connotation of a simultaneous, contemporaneous performance, then you have to say Keil Rino, the voice, the sounds of song, of joyful song, because of salvation. Because of the issue, all the tzaddikim, you understand. But you can say on the contrary, say, Rino. First you hear the song, the sounds of prayer, of supplication, of petition, and then, God hearkens to that petition. It is in sequence, the Yeshua. And the Yeshua, supersedes, actually follows the prayer. So it's not complete. There is no doubt that in Eicho kumereini balaylas, meaning come and wake up and sing at night. The pasuk itself says, "Shifchi kamayim libech," pour out your heart like water. But Rashi here interprets Rino. It's interesting. Rino in Hebrew is a very vague expression. I would say there are twofold. The semantics are actually, are not double semantics. Beis Knesses shom'imrim tzibur shiris v'sishboches b'niim askel orev. What does Rino mean? It's very interesting, very interesting. Lishmeya el Rino vel atchilo is the Targum. The Targum interprets Rino and Tefillah, not the Rashi interprets here. Not the Rashi interprets here. The Targum Elohim Aleph Chesed. Yes, thank you. The Targum interprets Lishmeya el Rino atchilo. The Targum says, Lekabolo tzleiso uvouso, the avdach. The expression, the phrase in Kaddish, this kabel tzleiso uvouson, is actually reflects the Rino and Tefillah. Is a derivative for Rino and Tefillah, because the Aramaic text of Rino and Tefillah is Lekabel tzleiso uvouso. Interesting is, what's the difference between Sleiso and Vos? No. Rino is Sleiso and Philo is Vouso. We say it is Kabel Sloson and Vouson. We never say it's Sloson, we say Vouson. What does it mean, this double expression? It's not Aramaic. What does it mean? No. What do you say? Tefillah bakosha. Tefillah is also bakosha. And the way the Targum is, because if you ask me, Rino and Atilo, what's stronger? Pressing is Rino more. Sleiso means Rino, bakosha. And Philo, Vouso, basically Vouso is not to or teacher. Vouso is unique. In the Bayan Bible, Pasuk, Shema Amelel, how long is the night? In Kedushah, if you want to inquire again, please inquire. A little later you'll inquire whether daybreak is take place soon. Still, a long while from daybreak. You boy along. All right. Boy. My boy is straight. Yeah. But the root is inquiry. You see. Is apparently Sleiso Busa means like that. Sleiso is simply Tefillah, petition God to intercede with Him. Busa means not only Tefillah. Tefillah actually is a second interpretation of Busa. But in Tibayon Bo, it means if you want to inquire, please inquire later. It is more in inquiry. It's very interesting. Sometimes, you see, in Tefillah, we ask for two things in Tefillah. We ask for first of all, for fulfillment of our needs, that our needs be gratified. And then we ask also for enlightenment in Tefillah, to know how to serve God. and how to live, and how to abide by his will, and how to act wisely in many perplexing situations. If you'll take Have-a-Rabba is a prayer for what? For enlightenment, It's a prayer for enlightenment. Is a prayer for enlightenment, and so forth on. It is kind of prayer. The prayer for in order that our needs be satisfied, be gratified, is called Tluso. Uso is the prayer for, it's more an inquiry, we inquire of the Rabbeinu Shalom how to guide ourselves, make decisions, and how to solve problems, and so forth. So this is Rino and Tefillah. Interesting is because the Kaddish, the translation of Unkele by Unkeles, of Rino and Tefillah. My friend, it's Leisen and Usen. Where the Kaddish pick it up? This is what? So it means Rino means instead, on the contrary, it's petition. It's petition. It's Leisen. Rashi interprets Rino the way we use Rino now in modern Hebrew. We use Rino in modern Hebrew not for prayer or for petition. We use Rino in modern Hebrew for song, for singing. Yeah. Sirish v'shizboches b'inam v'ni'imas keiloreh, melodiously. Yeah, with melody, yes. Yeah, the chazan, sing the chazan, correct. Yeah. But Rashi says b'ni'imas keiloreh. B'ni'imas keiloreh. First of all, the voice should be sweet. It should be melodious and sweet. All right? Fine. No, this is Rashi. So Rashi was guided by all that. Or Nile will say, we not say to hate shura bekisracha. Nile doesn't mean we know our song. We know our prayer, our supplication. We are not singing it. Nile is not time for singing, for song. Yes. Vayoreinu kolom. Yeah, vayoreinu kolom. They praise God. It means in singing, correct. So I told you, it's usually it's almost a homonym. It's almost a homonym. No, it's the same word. So it's all in covered. What I want to say, Rashi interprets. I want just to point out to you, it's absolutely no relevance to our problem. But the Rino is not. It's not necessary to interpret Rino in the sense of singing. We can interpret Rino just in the reverse, in the sense of crying. You understand? Crying. Lishmei Rino, harden to my cry. It's quite possible. It's a pretty fair translation. But so how does the Gemara prove that in Tefillah Shalom Nishma Soloveitchik haknesses? How does the Gemara prove it? What I want here to emphasize, how does the Gemara prove it? Became Rino? You say what of it? First of all, how do you know that Rino is only Beis haknesses?
Because the Shleimer said that it was through the Beis HaMikdash.
Yes, but Rashi says, Beis haknesses, sheshom emrim tzibur shireis v'sishbachis. Where the tzibur, recites melodiously and sweetly, hymns to God. Fine, Shom Tefillah. So the premise is questionable. How does the Gemara know that Rino is attached or related exclusively to Beis haknesses? Arvet tzorech, you understand? Arvet tzorech. How does the Gemara know? Became Rino. Where you hear Rino, there should also recite your prayers. Fine, good, but how does the Gemara know that Rino is related to Beis haknesses? Yes? Fine. Why is Rino restricted to tzibur? Why is Rino restricted to tzibur? Rashi, you see that Rashi is not interested in Beis haknesses. Rashi is interested in tzibur. If Rashi had been interested in Beis haknesses, because I would say, Sheshom emrim shireis v'sishbachis b'ni'imas keiloreh. Rashi, inserted the word tzibur. So Rashi already, you see that Rashi is here an equation of Beis haknesses and tzibur. But I would like to understand. So what does actually tzibur mean? Why shirif it is brachos restricted to tzibur? Yes, no. It's not. It does not refer to halal. It refers to Pesukei Zimra. Basically, I mean, here apparently, our custom, our ritual, that before, based in the Gemara, when the Gemara spoke about Tefillah, so what does the Gemara understand by Tefillah? Shem Nesrei. All right, we extended Tefillah a little more. Not Shem Nesrei, we take in kedushah and the brachos as well. But we don't start with Yetzirah Verecheshech. We start Tefillah with what? With Bor Shama. All right, let us say, with Bor Shama. What is the whole idea that we have to say Pesukei Zimra prior to kedushah and the brachos? Brachos shel Mokim and Shem Nesrei, the three brachos. What is the idea actually? That before we say Yetzirah, we recite Pesukei Zimra, Heidu, Ashrei, the halachos. All right, Pesukei Zimra, of course, I mean, at the beginning, Chazal knew only a fashre issue. We said, till daven remimcha, to kill Shama Talko. Later it was extended. Heidu was taken in by David, Shiras Hayom. I mean, of course, it's a product of historical development. I mean, the Pesukei Zimra. But however, the halacha is basic that Pesukei Zimra should precede Tefillah. Yeah. In the Gemara, it's mentioned only once. Where is it mentioned in the Gemara once? Yeah. The Gemara says, let I have a share in the reward which will be bestowed upon those who say Hallel every day. The Gemara, Hallel every day? It's like blasphemy. One is not supposed to recite the Hallel every day. On the contrary, Hallel should be recited only at certain fixed times. The Gemara answer, we don't mean Hallel Mitzri, but with the Pesukei Zimra. From Tilo Ledovi down to Kiran Shomat Halakha, down to the end of the book of Psalms. Yeah, that's all place. So why is the Gemara so sure about it? That it's so important to say Pesukei Zimra before what? Before Krishma? Before Tefillah, Yilishmeya Elorino Velat Tefillah. Where is the source? Lishmeya, the source must be found in Tanakh. Lishmeya, if you interpret Rino, literally the way we are inclined to interpret, I mean, according to the semantics of modern Hebrew, of course. Rino, you'll never say Rino as a term for prayer. I mean, you have many terms for prayer. Tefillah, Shechinah, bakosha, whatnot. But not Rino. Rino means singing. Singing means singing hymns, a cycle of hymns. Lishmeya el Rino velat Tefillah. Why is it important? I can't ask, I mean, it's not a question, but I would like to understand the person. Why is it necessary? Why is it necessary to recite hymns before you begin to read Shema and the brachos preceding and following Shema, and before you recite Shema? So why is it necessary? All right, the pasuk is the source, but I would like to understand it logically. I mean, why is it necessary? Yes, I understand. Arrogance of what? Yes. His greatness, his ubiquity, his omniscience, his omnipotence. Nun, by recognizing what? Just a moment, he's talking to the point. All right, I understand the means is still him. Yeah, what do you gain by it? What do you gain by it? There are two answers. One answer is his. There are two answers to that problem. One answer is, I mean, you continue, no? Fine, so what do you gain? No, you don't gain. The way he interprets is not the right to pray. by reciting the greatness and the exaltedness and the remoteness and the glory of God, you simply, what do you accomplish? What do you attain? That tefillah on my part is something absurd, something arrogant, something which should not be tolerated. You understand? I mean, by reciting the greatness, omniscience, and the remoteness of God, that God is hiding in infinity, transcendent to the entire world. I mean, so what right do I have to actually break into Him? Of course, it is based upon the concept that tefillah means confrontation with God. And this is basic in Yahadus. This is fundamental. It's not just a petition. The petition is secondary importance. The supplication is a peripheral, relevance. The central understanding of tefillah means confrontation with the Rebbeinu Shalom, to stand before Him. And it's not just a mystical concept that I'm telling you, or some theological interpretation. This is halachic. What is the kavanah at tefillah? What is the kavanah at tefillah? Tefillah requires kavanah, you know very well. And what kind of a kavanah? Not kavanah's mitzvahs. Kavanah's mitzvahs means I intend to discharge my duty. This is not the kavanah which tefillah requires. Tefillah is a specific kavanah, a specific awareness. When I lay tefillah, all my awareness should consist of one thing. I do it in order to fulfill my duty, to discharge my duty. That's all. You say it in a mucham zuman always. You say, fine. But tefillah is not this problem. The awareness of tefillah is not just a secondary, aspect. It exhausts actually the very essence of tefillah, the awareness. Not so much my physical performance, this recital, but awareness forms the very gist, the very substance of tefillah. What kind of awareness they require? Davening, what the Rambam says. The Rambam says, open the Rambam in chesed tefillah. Did you give me a tefillah? I brought a tefillah. Oh yes, go ahead. Excuse me. I brought. חמישה דבורים פרק רביעי הלוך א', פרק רביעי הלוך א'. חמישה דבורים מעכבים את התפילה. וכוונס הלב. הלוך תזין. כיצד היא הכוונה? שיפנה את ליבו מכל המחשבות, he should dismiss all other thoughts. וירא עצמי, he should consider himself, or rather be aware, כאילו העמד לפני השכינה. As if he were standing before the Almighty. Before the Almighty. Before the Almighty. Confrontation with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Yes. And before you say, no, what's your name anyway? What's your name? Goldberg, all right. So continue. So continue, no? Now continue, from now on, continue. Really, it's not. Heightened the tension or the dramatic element there, but renders tefillah absurd, completely nonsensical, as an act of, as an expression of human arrogance. If I'll break in, to Nixon, we'll throw him out, my ears, you understand. Never mind it's in trouble, but I have no right. He's still a president of the United States, you see. They'll throw me out of my ears, And why shouldn't he be thrown out by the Malachim and his ears? Whoever tries to break into the realm of infinity, of God Almighty? Yes, so what? So what is the answer? What is the answer? I want you to tell me the answer. So I emphasize and stress the contradiction between what I am going to do and plain logic and plain, decency. Human decency, that I should not be arrogant. I should not come to the Rebbeinu Shalom and tell him a story of woe and pain and my petty needs. Usually our need is petty needs, I want riches, I want prominence, I want covet. It's ridiculous, it's ludicrous. So it is arrogant. By so doing, I emphasize my impudence, my arrogance, my complete absurdity, the absurdity of the deed, and nevertheless, I do it. Why? Because it's a special chesed, a special act of grace, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestowed upon man, and granted him the privilege to pray, even though from a standpoint of decency or etiquette, prayer is to be equated with human arrogance. In spite of that, Vani bereif chazdecho, and I, because of your grace. You know what grace is. When is grace required? There is mercy, there is rachmin, there is chesed. Chesed is the highest form. You know that very well. When does God bestow mercy upon a person? When does he bestow grace upon a person? We don't say, grace means completely undeserved. Even if there is no mitigating factor, there is no justification. I sinned and there are no extenuating circumstances. There is no defense. I'm guilty. Whatever I did was with malice and vicious. And completely, there is no explanation. His grace, chesed, can wash off, can remove. Rachmi, mercy, is only if there are mitigating factors. You understand? Tefillah is not rachmi. Rachmi is not good enough. Could you imagine that every citizen of the United States would come to the White House and give petitions to the President of the United States? It's good for someone, for the head of a village, to see at the market square, and then people should come and complain to him. But the president of a great empire can't do that. It's contrary to the basic principles of human decency and etiquette. So tefillah is absurd, but it is a special act of grace on the part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he allowed men to break into his gates. Simply to open the door and walk in without an appointment. This is, and this chesed, ani bereif chazdecho. And chesed alone is not enough, it's infinite chesed. Bereif chazdecho. Because of your abundant chasadim. Ovei visecho. Where's ovei visecho? Because any prayer is confrontation between God and man. Not even, I wouldn't have even the right to prostrate myself. After all, when we come in this Mikdash, we say it, don't we say it? The very instant we enter into the shul, we say, this reflects the whole idea of prayer. And I told you, that Chazal have never understood how prayer is possible. It was to them the greatest paradox. How is it possible? As the Rambam speaks, when a person, Shechinah lives in a house of clay, of his limited reason, stupid, insensitive, today is here, tomorrow is in the grave, knocks on the door of eternity or infinity and wants to gain access to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And delivering him a petition which from the viewpoint of eternity, subspecie eternitatis, makes no sense. He wants a little more money, he wants a little more covet, whatever. You know how our requests are foolish, and most of them absurd. Most of them absurd. So that's what Chazal couldn't understand. So how did Chazal justify prayer? And you cannot imagine Yehadus without prayer. Prayer, I once heard from my father, in the name of my grandfather, the Machlekes or Rishonim, between the Rambam and all other Rishonim, whether or not prayer is a mitzvah with Reise, or only with Rabbanon, so Reb Chaim said the Rambam is certainly right. So my father said, why? So there are many Gemaras against that, actually. The Ramban quotes quite a number of sugyas passages which contradict the Rambam. He said, how could you imagine Am Yisrael without prayer? You had to wait for a takon de Rabban in order to pray to the Rebbeinu Shalom. No, it's nothing to laugh at. This is true. So how did Chazal justify prayer? Just by precedent. We don't know what prayer is. We don't know what right we have to pray. How can we come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He is infinity itself, who determines the fate and destiny not only of the universe which is visible and known to us, of the universe whose laws we know. At the Chacham HaKabbalah spoke, there are elomes, gluyim, and historim, elomes which are revealed reality, and there is a mysterious reality. I come, brio, after all, it's like how can I tell you, that like the mosquito would come pray to, ask me for something. Of course, it's no comparison. How can I come, and tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want this, I want that, you must give me this, you must give me this, I want intelligence, we are not so much concerned with it, because we have enough of it. But sickness, of course, because hashra'as, of course, and so forth. Logically, it cannot be justified, it cannot be warranted. We don't understand the logical explanation, the philosophy of prayer. We just know that prayer is as old as the Jewish people. Abraham already prayed. Yitzchak prayed. Jacob prayed. Moshe prayed. David. There wasn't a single generation since the inception of the covenantal community with Abraham that has omitted prayer. And this is basically, that's already, and this is another reason why Ashrei, Chazal among all the Zimra, Chazal have emphasized Ashrei more than anything else. Whoever says Tefillah David every day, in Muftach Leishu Ben El Mabor. Here it is. Take the Gemara Dalet on the base. The text. This is Miras Anoi. Let us enlighten the person. Omar Rabbi Lozo Dav Dalet on the base. How can I tell you it is where? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines from the bottom. Kolaim atilo leDavid Ashrei. Kolaim atilo leDavid bechol yom sholish pamim. There are different versions. Some versions, have this sholish pamim 3 times a day. We do say Ashrei 3 times a day. We say twice in the morning and once before mincha. All right, yes. But some versions don't have it. Kolaim atilo leDavid bechol yom, not sholish pamim. Muftach leishu ben el mabo. Is a shoot of a share in the world to come. Why was Ashrei singled out? The Gemara asks questions. Why was Ashrei singled out? Why is Ashrei actually the introduction to Shem Nesrei usually? Of course, in the morning we cannot say Ashrei before Shem Nesrei because we have Krishma and brachos, Smichas Gula and Tefillah. But before Musaf, what do you say? If you have Musaf, Ashrei. Before Nila, what do you say in Kippur? Ashrei. What do you say? Before Mincha, what do you say? Ashrei. Why Ashrei? Because Ashrei basically is the document which the license for prayer are contained, which has permitted prayer. Praise, singing of hymns. And on what basis did Ashrei permit? Because of precedent. I need a sitter for that. Yeah, you know Ashrei by heart. I don't know Ashrei by heart. All right. Thank you. I don't know hashra'as. I know many things by heart, but not hashra'as. I know hashra'as. He said like that. Tefillah le David. Aremimcho lekayam melech. I'll exalt thee, my God, the King. Avocho shimcho le'olam, and I'll praise thy name forever. B'chol yom avochecho. Every day shall I praise thy name. V'al shimcho, and I'll enhance your name le'olam v'ed. And then he asked a question. How is it possible? Godel Hashem. God is great, infinite. God is infinite. Umuhulal me'id. He is exalted above all prayers. V'legdulosei en cheker. In his greatness there is no limit. It's boundless. So what right do I have with my limited vocabulary and I mean to engage or to undertake to praise him? Isn't it arrogant? Isn't it impudent? So he says, Der leder, generations before me did it. Yeshabach masecho, have praised thy name. Ugvurisecho yagidu, and your might and omnipotence have passed on. Therefore, before he's in Rabbi, Der leder Yeshabach masecho, ugvurisecho yagidu. Therefore, Hadar kvei deidecho, Therefore, I feel that I am also, deserving of telling the glory of the glory and the beauty, and to talk or to explain your miracles. This is Ashrei. This is precedent. There is no answer why. What right do I have? What right do I have to dare to do so? But this is precedent. Precedent is all right. That's what Chazal says. Tefillah is always tiknun, avon tiknun. The tefillahs were introduced by the patriarchs, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Why were Chazal so concerned with this problem? Who cares? Because if they hadn't introduced, we wouldn't be able to pray. The precedent. That's why Rino that's why Rino now we understand why Rino requires tzibur. Rashi says tzibur, because the license is not only the generations before me did, and generations following me will continue to praise God, because I'm not the only one. I am within a congregation, you understand. It's not my praise, as I always told you. When there is tzibur, it's not just the minyan. I told you last Saturday night, it's not the minyan here. Tzibur is more symbolic, representative. Yeah, community, an all-inclusive community. What kind of a community? The Knesses Yisrael. Is Rino started tzibur. But Rashi is not Beis HaKnesses. Rashi is tzibur. The one who came out with the idea that Beis HaKnesses is a separate aspect. Of course, the ideal tefillah is tzibur and Beis HaKnesses. But there is, another aspect to daven by Beis HaKnesses, even though there is not tzibur. The place, the locus, the mocking itself warrants prayer. It fits for prayer and somehow enhances prayer. Even though I'm the only one, there's no one else. I believe it's the Rambam, if I'm not mistaken. Just a minute. Yeah, but tzibur, Rashi says, tzibur. Tzibur shomo, the Gemara says, the Beis HaKnesses, bim kemerina, the Gemara says, bim kemerina, you have to say Beis HaKnesses. But Rashi should have left out, sheshom emrim, shiris is brachos, Rashi put in the word tzibur. So Rashi placed emphasis not on Beis HaKnesses, but on tzibur. For the Rambam, Tefillah HaTzibur in Rambam Perek Ches Halacha Aleph. In Rambam Perek Ches Halacha Aleph. Please. Perek Ches Halacha Aleph. The Ram says, Tefillah tzibur nishmas tamid. Is always accepted. The Gemara says, ain't tefillah nishmas elo beis haknesses. The Ram said, Tefillah tzibur nishmas tamid. Tzibur again. Vafil hoyu b'em chaytim. I'll come later to that. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu means tefillosam shel Rabbi. God does not reject the tefillah of the many. Lefikoch tzorach adam l'shatef atzmei hatzibur. ולהיספלל ביוחד כל זמן שיוכל להיספלל עם הציבור. If he can join the congregation, he should have a congregation. And then he adds, ולאילום ישכים אדם, a man should get up early, ויריב, and should ויריב לבייס הכנסס. A man should come early and leave late the Beis HaKnesses. שאין תפילוסי נשמע בכל העיס, Elo bebeis haknesses. Before he said Tefillah tzibur nishmas tamid, he spoke about tzibur, perek ches halacha aleph, and now he speaks about beis haknesses. You see, the Rambam and beis haknesses and tzibur represent two different aspects. Of course, I told you the ideal Tefillah is tzibur, but if you can't tzibur, I come to shul and daven. Tefillah shel adam. שאין תפילוסי נשמע בכל עיס אלו בבייס הכנסס. What tefillah b'tzibur? And that tefillah is yeah. I'll come to it. You mean you're right that the mocker is the mocker is the mocker. But this is Beis HaKnesses. The question is the role of tzibur in prayer. Because Tefillah Yochid, on performance. The tzibur, and I told you, it's not just many. It's not just tzibur, it's not just an aggregate of people. Just 10 people. It's not a tefillah of 10 people. Tefillah tzibur. Tefillah tzibur is the tefillah of a personality, of a new individuality called tzibur. And basically, it's not tzibur the minyan which happens to be in one spot geographically, but it's the tzibur. Until which represents the Knesses Yisrael. That I understand. Why is Beis HaKnesses so important? Why was Beis HaKnesses so important? And the role of Beis HaKnesses, still according to the Rambam said, perhaps Rashi also, I cannot speak about Rashi, but the Rambam said, distinguish between Tefillah tzibur and Tefillah HaKnesses. He says both Tefillah tzibur nishmas and Tefillah Beis HaKnesses nishmas. Why is Beis HaKnesses so important? What Mokim Kavua? Correct. So why? What is wrong if it's what is the beauty of a Mokim Kavua? Tell me. Kol hakivei Mokim litvelosei. Kaluga Gemara. Kol hakivei Mokim litvelosei. Aleki Avrom Yibez. Reitega Luke Daf Vova mit Beis. Omar Rav Chelbe, Omar Rav Huna, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is the 11th line from the top. Omar Rav Chelbe, Omar Rav Huna, kol hakivei amokim litfilosei, eleki Avrom be'ezrei. Ukishemeis, when he dies, emim le'yono ve'chosid ameh. Yonah מתלמידיו של אברהם אבינו, ואברהם אבינו מנולון דקוב המוקים לתפילוסי, דרסיב הישכים אברהם בבייקר על המוקים אשר עמד שם, the same place. Yeah, he's walking kavua. By the way, I want to tell people, that's why running around from shul to shul makes no sense. It's exactly, either you daven here or you daven over there, I mean. But simply to pay visits to one shul and then
This is against the Gemara of Kol HaKavei HaMokim L'Tfilah. The Kol HaKavei HaMokim L'Tfilah, there are two halachas. First of all, the same shul, and also the same seat. And not to walking around during prayer. In general, I mean, to walk around the shul, up and down in shul, is against kedushah's Beis HaKnesses. It's contrary to kedushah's Beis HaKnesses. You come into Beis HaKnesses, either you stand or you sit. But you're not on a train, you don't drive along a highway in Beis HaKnesses. It's bad manners. You see, Beis HaKnesses requires of the individual mannerism, certain manners. And those manners are halachic manners. The way the halacha has prescribed certain manners, way which a man should behave and conduct himself in Beis HaKnesses. But particularly for Tefillah. Tefillah is either you stand or you sit. Wherever standing is required, you stand. Wherever sitting is permitted, you sit down. Sometimes sitting is required, like for Tachno or Valetzir in Ashrei, perhaps, the Rambam says. Yeah. All right, this is number one. So you need a seat. You cannot sit in Beis HaKnesses one time in the back, next time in the front, and the third time in the middle. You cannot. You choose a seat, it's your seat. That's what was, this was customary in Lithuania, in White Russia, in Poland, to sell seats. Of course. Why sell seats? Seats used to pass on from generation to generation, from father to children, from children to grandchildren. Avram did not walk around. Will a guest come? If a guest comes to you, you'll take him for a walk, or if he wants to talk, you'll ask him to sit down, and you'll talk to him while sitting. Just a moment. Hakavei HaMokim L'Tfilah means two things. First of all, the shul, the same shul. Secondly, the same place, the same seat in the shul, the same place. Why is it so important? I want to know, why is it so important? Good. Because Tefillah means a rendezvous with God. It's a date with God. That's how Chazal understood. A date is always associated with a girl. This time the girl is the Shechinah. It's a beautiful girl. It pays to meet her. Believe me. Yeah. A rendezvous play. A rendezvous, a date. A rendezvous, a plain date, a plain appointment. This is Tefillah. And it's very strange. Usually, the boy should come first and the girl next. I don't know the etiquette of dating, you understand? So here is the girl comes first, the Shechinah. Just a moment, I'll show you. Again, take, just a moment. Perhaps, no. Melamed, just a minute. Good. Vova Medalef. Omar Rabbi Yitzchok. Menayin she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu motzui bebeis HaKnesses. It's right after the lines about Rino and Tefillah. Omar Rabbi Yitzchok. Rabbi Yitzchok said, Menayin, how do you know? she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have the lines? she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Almighty motzui is present bebeis HaKnesses. Shenemar Elikim Nitzov Ba'adas Keil. God is resides always, is always present in the midst of the community. In Beis HaKnesses. It means he is present, he waits for the people to come. Of course, it would be much nicer if we came first, and the Shechinah next. But basically, Tefillah means a meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a date, it's a rendezvous, it's an appointment. This is Tefillah. It's a basic concept of Tefillah. Now you'll take, if one mimer is not enough, take Vova with the Beis. Omar Rabbi Yechonah. Rabbi Yechonah said, Omar Robin, first line. Omar Robin Baravade, Omar Rabbi Yitzchok. Kol Rogil Lovel Beis HaKnesses. Whoever comes to shul regularly, V'lei bo yem echad. And one day he skipped, he omitted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu waited for him. Mashal inquires about him. Shneim amibachem yirei ad Hashem, shemei akil avdei, hasholach hashechem v'negalei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu inquires. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu waits for him. Okay. Omer Rabbi Yechonel. Rabbi Yechonel said, I want to show, a few more in order to show you the central thought. It's not just an opinion of one. It's a central idea, which was accepted by many scholars, by many Chazal. V'shosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu bo beis haknesses. He comes into shul. V'leimotza bo asoro. What do you mean motza bo asoro? Doesn't mean. I want you to understand. You can interpret that HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to shul, he waits for the 10 people to assemble, then he comes to shul. But when he comes to shul and finds 10 people haven't come yet, haven't arrived yet, so okay. Yeah. No, but it means B'shosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu bo beis haknesses, he comes the first one. He waits for the people to come, and the people don't come, and there is no meaning of beis haknesses, you understand? Miyad ukeish, no madu abosi veinish, korosi v'neineh. So what do you see, what do you arrive from all those passages, from all those quotations? That, first of all, what do you arrive? What ideas do you arrive from those passages? Yes. First of all, there is hashra'as hashchina bebeis haknesses. What is beis haknesses? What is the reason that we ascribe sanctity and holiness to the beis haknesses? Because there is hashra'as hashchina, there's presence of God. Presence of God beis haknesses. It means that beis haknesses is like what? Like the Mikdash. What? Asher yomer hayim bar ad Hashem yoreh, ad Hashem yireh. God is present in beis haknesses. That's why Knesses Yisrael are considered Mikdashim me'at. Temples or sanctuaries in miniature. It means there is hashra'as hashchina. Number one, just a moment. hashra'as hashchina. Number one. Number two, what is second idea? No, what is this one idea? The kedushah's beis haknesses. Actually, what is beis haknesses? Hashem. Hashra'as. Take beis haknesses, you substitute for knesses beis Hashem. Hashra'as hashchina. What else? No. The Rabbi Shalom can also, he's not bored to be alone. Rabbi Shalom is always alone. Yeshiv v'sei Yisrael mitzvah Shaddai Yisrael. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the loneliest being. Because he's alone, there's no one else like him. Kadosh Baruch Hu can be alone, and actually his abode is aloneness. And loneliness is his residence. Yeshiv v'sei Yisrael mitzvah Shaddai Yisrael. Kil mistater v'shafrechem. God will hide in the mystery of the world. Yeah. But however, when it comes to beis haknesses, he doesn't want to be alone. He's bored to be alone. He wants some people to join him. And what does it mean? He has an appointment with them. A rendezvous. And when he comes and the people don't show up, so his wrath is aroused. This is it, of course. So if a Jew goes to shul, actually he doesn't go to shul. He goes to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to keep a date with the shul. This concept that there is, that a man has a date with the Shechinah is basic in halacha. It applies not only to Tefillah, but to many to Torah as well. But this is kviyas. And kviyah, then what does it mean? It means like that, a man should have a place for davening. Because he cannot, if Kadosh Baruch Hu is present here, he's waiting for you here. Then you went, this morning we'll go to the shul. You broke the date. You see, Malchus the Shmaya ke Malchus da. HaKadosh Baruch Hu deals with man in the same manner as he deals with people.
That's it. HaKadosh Baruch is infinite, HaKadosh Baruch, it is transcendent, and beyond all those concepts, it's ubiquitous, whatever, in his dealings with man, he accepted the human etiquette. He's dealing with us in our terms, not in his terms. Because in his terms it would be impossible to deal with HaKadosh Baruch. We couldn't speak to him, we couldn't address ourselves to him. He's infinite and he's unapproachable, he's ineffable. The whole performance would be just nonsense. But he deals with us in our terms, in our categories. This is. And what else here is important? If it's a date, is something else important. Focus, place, what else? Time. Not a daven. Yesterday 6 o'clock in the morning, today 7 o'clock, and tomorrow 8 o'clock. You have a fixed time and a fixed place. Now this is number one. So why is haknesses so relevant to Tefillah? Now let us have it, because Tefillah is confrontation, and the place of confrontation is actually at haknesses. It means the appointment between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and man, this date, this rendezvous, is Beis HaKnesses. All right, this is number one. There's another reason too. Fine. What else? What else? There's another reason for this. How do you know that? It's correct what you say, but how do you know that? You have to prove it. You have to prove it. Correct. Correct, it's correct. You have to prove it. Actually, I don't know how many of you know Tefillah Shleimeh, the dedication, Tefillah Shleimeh, the live up, Chanukah Beis. It's the most beautiful philosophy of prayer that was ever written. What did Shleimeh ask? What did Shleimeh answer? Shleimeh asked a question. When he completed the Beis Mikdash, but the Beis Mikdash, it's magnificent building, and the people, Knesses Yisrael was assembled in Yerushalayim. It was on Sukkot, the Chog, Vayosu, he just read after this. Shlomo had to deliver his dedication, prayer, address, call it whatever you want. So Shlomo asked a question. Is it true that God will reside in that house, in that small house? No matter how magnificent it is. The infinite heavens, infinity itself cannot contain the half habayis azeh, is certainly this little hole. What did he answer? What did he answer? What did Shlomo answer? Yeah, but he gave an answer. What did he answer? כי האומנם ישב אלוקים על הארץ, מן השמיים ושמי השמיים לא יאכל כלוחו, אף כי הבייס הזה אשר בניסי? Right, question number one. Chazal say also, that Moshe asked this question. ושאמר לי הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, when God told Moshe, ועשו לי מקדש, ושכנתי בזה, they should build a sanctuary, and I'll reside with it. Nivel Moshe. He got frightened. אומר, in השמיים ושמי השמיים לא יאכל כלוחו, אף כי הבייס הזה, in infinity, who wants to what to be pressed, squeezed into a mission of cubits, of 10 or 20 cubits. אומר לי הקדוש ברוך הוא, the Medrash answer, לא כשם שאתה סבור אני סבור. I have a different opinion, Moshe. Emes, in Hashemayim, Ushmei Hashemayim, the whole universe cannot contain me. I am immanent in the universe and transcended to the universe. I am beyond and above any measurements. I am in infinity.
However, I will keshosh ani reitze, but the times when I want, and the year do mit samtze Shechinah. I descend and I contract my Shechinah. It's an act of contraction. And when Shechinah I reside, amo alamo on the kapelas. That's what the Midrash answers. But what did Shlomo answer? There was something. What did Shlomo answer? What did Shlomo answer? What is a Beis Mikdash necessary? The same question is, why is a shul necessary? Melech Haaretz Kvede, his glory fills out every corner in the universe. There is not a corner in the universe behind the flying, beyond the flying nebula, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not present. He is present. He is present in the universe, beyond the universe, above the universe. So why is the shul? I mean, it's every place. In the field, in the forest, in my house, in my backyard. The same question which Shlomo asked. What is the answer? What do you say? Exactly. The answer is not HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs the house, the home, the individual needs the Beis Hamikdash. We needed the home. Yes. Correct? This is the answer. Why? For what purpose? Correct. This is the answer. Actually, Beis Hamikdash is not built as a home, as a shelter for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Beis Hamikdash was built, and so the Beis Haknesses is built as a home and a shelter, as a residence for man who wants to get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Correct? Correct. Man is homeless, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Man is homeless. He needs a home. He needs a roof over his head. But not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is correct. This is the answer. Yeah, but how? So what does the Beis Hamikdash accomplish? I mean, you mean basically it takes man out of his routine, of his environment. Man's environment, this is true, man's environment is basically a profane environment, and not encouraging the human being, I mean, not inspiring him, and not actually, I mean, it's not the environment in which particular modern man lives. He does not, is not the one which can inspire men to pray and to surrender to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to rise above his petty needs, above his daily cares and concerns. I mean, men must be taken out of his usual environment and placed somewhere else, where he should be inspired by the surroundings, by the people, I mean, with whom he associates. He should simply, the Mekeim Tefillah should not be the same as the Mekeim Melachta. Not where in shop you cannot daven in shop. You have to come to a special place. This is correct. It's a place of inspiration. Correct. This is correct. It's correct to, when we come into the synagogue and the Beis Haknesses, I mean, if we are sensitive, we somehow we are impressed, and we are also inspired, and there is we have an experience of being cleansed and purged and redeemed of the everyday cares and concerns. Oh, this is correct. I mean, usually the man is influenced by the environment, no doubt about it. This is correct. But there is something else what Shlomo said. Shlomo said something else. What does Shlomo develop the idea? That all prayers offered all over the world, all over the land, all over the world, even the diaspora, even when thy people will be conquered and taken prisoner and carried away, exiled into a far distant land, and they'll pray. The prayer should be via that house, via Eretz Yisrael. If you are in Eretz Yisrael, it's via Jerusalem, and if you pray in Jerusalem via that house, somehow the prayer should rise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu from one focal point, from one focus. Prayers, I mean, we imagine prayers rising to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They fly into heaven. They rise like the pillar of Kedushah. Very interesting.
What does the pasuk say? You know, psukim. Tikin tfilosi kteres lefanecha. Masas kapa in minchas. Let my tefillah be considered as the burning of incense before me. Masas kapa, the lifting of my hand, like the meal of the minchas, the atomic shall be Rabbi, minchas. Why is tikin tfilosi kteres lefanecha? Why is like kteres? Because kteres was, they had a certain ingredient of this in the kteres, which they called malarosha. The smoke of the kteres used to rise vertically, like a column, toward heaven. The ruach has never dispersed. It's never. The Amud Ocean, the column. The pillar of smoke. The pillar of smoke, and the Midrash tells us the people who were far from Jerusalem used to see from afar the pillar of smoke rising over the Mizbeach. This was the first signal, which they saw. The first signal was the pillar. So a tefillah also rises to heaven. Tikkun philosophic teres rises to heaven. So all the tefillah should rise to heaven, not from an infinite number of places, but from one place. All tefillahs travel. It's a very strange picture which they may give. At tefillah, when I daven, the tefillah is an entity. The tefillah is something living. This also applicable. Tefillah is not just the words. The words become an organism, an entity, a mysterious entity, an invisible entity. There are some tefillahs, beautiful tefillahs, and there are ugly tefillahs. But Kabbalah speak about ugly tefillahs and beautiful tefillahs, very attractive, fascinating, and they rise to heaven. But the tefillahs don't rise immediately; they travel. Where do they travel? To Eretz Yisrael. Very strange. And then to Jerusalem, and then to the place where the Kodesh is. And from that place, they rise to heaven. That's what ושומעתו על תחינס עבדך ועמך ישראל אשר יספלו על המוקים הזה מי על יספל המוקים הזה they'll direct their prayers, they'll send their prayers, they'll dispatch their prayers to that place. ואתו תשמע אל מקיים שבטך על השמיים. You reside in beyond the cosmos, beyond the universe, beyond finitude. But the tefillah will rise. Binogev amcho Yisrael lifneiv, ve'ato tishma v'yischanu elecho al Beis again. They'll direct the prayers. Rov ki yeh ba'aretz, v'gam el anochi asher leima amcho Yisrael elo. Any tefillah, even from the stranger who is not a Jew, the tefillah should travel to the Beis Mikdash, to Eretz Yisrael, and rise to Eretz Yisrael to heaven. What is the idea? It's a very strange imagery which Shlomo has introduced. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ubiquitous. He is omnipresent. His glory fills out the earth and the whole universe. Why have the tefillahs traveled Eretz Yisrael? Travel, comfort ruach, on the wings of the wind. Travel and then like little doves rise above to heaven. Why is it? It means individual prayer is not accepted. Individual prayer is not accepted. It's hard. It's not always accepted. Tefillah sarab nishmas tomid. Tefillah sajochim. But the tefillah of the many is never rejected. So there aren't. You see, it's again the concept of Knesses Yisrael. There aren't 14 million Jews, and if all Jews were davening, were praying, unfortunately not all Jews pray now. But let us say, in ideal state, I still remember times at which, at least 75% or 80% of the people, were praying. Not only I, there are many people in this audience who still remember such time. But now, the situation has changed. But anyway, it's not, we cannot speak now 14 million people, 14 million prayers, 14 million prayers rising to heaven. No, this is not so. 14 million people are form one individuality, one invisible personality. And this personality is called what? Knesses Yisrael. There is only one prayer which happens. You ask me, what kind of a prayer is it? Who is the prayerful person? Who is the prayerful individual? Knesses Yisrael. As an individuality. Knesses Yisrael. What is my tefillah? My tefillah is a small particle, a small integral part of the great tefillahs, Knesses Yisrael. Shmei tefillahs Amcho Yisrael. That's what Shlomo answered. We need a center. And actually, Chazal say that actually, why did the Torah order that three times a year, on Passover, on Shavuos, on Sukkot, all people must make a pilgrimage to Yerushalayim and assemble in Beis Hamikdash. Everybody must enter. Why? What for? What for? Drag them from their distant places, the farmer from his field in the Galil, and the shepherd, from his flocks in the Negev, and so forth and so on. Why? The Torah was very, very concerned, with human effort. And Chazal say, "Ein tumas am horetz beregel." Am horetz is not. There is not tumah from am horetz beregel. Shene'emar vayesfu elov kol Yisrael chaverim. In order simply to forge the unity of the Knesses Yisrael. People live in the Galil. They've never seen the people from Judea. Never seen their life. Now you fly, you commute between New York and Eretz Yisrael. It was quite difficult, in olden times, in antiquity, to commute even between the Golan Heights, Upper Galilee and Jerusalem. It was quite a journey, quite a trip, you understand. People come, they don't know each other. And they fall apart. And people from the south and from the east and from the north came. They got acquainted, and they became one people. Ki shechot chaverim. All of our friends, all of our associates. The unity of Knesses Yisrael was emphasized time and again. Time and again. This is the reason why Yeroboam put up the two golden calves. Why did Yeroboam put up the two golden calves? He said, my people from Shomron, who will make the pilgrimage to Yerushalayim, and they'll join Judea. You understand? And the split, which brought about actually the destruction of Judaic independence. Finally, this split will be eliminated, and then will be a united people. Of course, he'll lose the throne. Of course. So that's why he put up two calves, one calf in Bethel, the other one in Dan, and he told him, if you want to travel, you can travel every time you want. If you make a pilgrimage, go. Because he was afraid. Yerushalayim, the people. That's why, if you read a psalm, which the Eiler Golem, the pilgrims used to sing, when they entered Yerushalayim, Eim de Soyagleinu Yerushalayim, no, the city which accommodates everybody and unites everybody. Sheshomol u'shifte kol. Ladies for the Shem. And this is exactly why Tefillah is very important. It shouldn't be my prayer. My prayer should join and merge with the great prayer of the Knesses Yisrael. That's why Beis HaKnesses, of course, is Beis Hamikdash. Beis HaKnesses means I show what do I manifest when I come to Beis HaKnesses. If I daven at my home, it's my prayer. If I daven at my parlor, it's my prayer. I'm not aware of anybody else. I don't know that somebody else is in need, and perhaps he needs help and support. I dismiss. My next door neighbor. I'm just involved with my needs, and I'm thinking only of HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepting my prayer. I don't care. I'm not concerned with us. In Beis HaKnesses, I join the Knesses Yisrael. It's the prayer of the Knesses Yisrael. This is the second reason. Beis HaKnesses is a mokim kavua for the appointment. Then the Knesset, the character of the collective prayer, or the prayer of the Knesses Yisrael, is emphasized by Tefillah Beis HaKnesses. Now there is something else. Now let us take a Gemara. This would actually confirm basically what we just said. The role of Beis HaKnesses. Take a Gemara. Daf Hey Yom et Beis. A very strange Gemara. 3 lines from the bottom. Tanya Abu Binyamin said many things about Tefillah. We hardly find him in connection with other problems. But Tefillah, apparently, he understood very well Tefillah and his philosophy of Tefillah, etc. Shnayim shenichnisu leispala. 2 men came in to daven. Where nichnisu in Beis HaKnesses, into shul. V'kidim echad mehem leispala. One can recite even fast. He's literate. And the Chavera is slow, I don't know. And he walked out and he left his friend alone in shul. You should be careful about it. The Yotza, and he left him alone in shul. He davened, he concluded his daven, his prayers, he concluded his prayers. The other one was still busy reciting his prayers. He left him. Tearfing leit philosophy befonov. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the tefillah and tears it apart in his presence. The tefillah bounces, you see. It's rejected, like a ball. This means it. Like a ball, bounces like a ball. Shenema Tereif nafshei bi'apei. It's a very strange pasuk in Yev. Yev Yitches. Let us see how Chazal have divided it. Yev. You see, when you study Agoda, you have to be careful with the psukim. Yev Yitches. Do what Ashuchi said. He addressed himself to Yev. Tereif nafshei bi'apei. One who tears himself up. Bi'apei, because of anger. He's ready to commit suicide. When he tears himself completely up, it means he loses his sanity complete sanity, his reasonableness. Alemancho, you mean, for thy sake, Teozi Veretz, should the world be abandoned completely? The Yetak Tzum im Kemei, and the creator, the maker, should move out of our world? What does it mean? If you know the conversation, the dialogue, which Eve carried on with Bill Ashuchi, or with Eliphaz Hatemoni, or what was the name? Sefer Anamosi, the conversation. What was it? What did Eve say? Eve said because he was disaster struck him. So what does it show? That there is no justice in the world. There is no fairness. God has abandoned the world. God is not concerned with the destiny of the world. The wicked person is triumphant if he is strong. The just person, if he is weak, is persecuted, and so forth. Correct? Destroyed. So Bilad HaShuchi tells him, Tereif nafshei be'apei. Because of thy anger, of thy wrath, you want to destroy yourself. It means you went berserk. You are insane. Mi alle mancho, let us say we don't understand your destiny. All right, we don't understand. You have problems, you have questions. Do you think that a question which one individual has and a destiny which of a yochid, which cannot be understood. We don't understand why you lost your children and your wealth, or why you are a leper now, or why you are stricken with a disease. It means because of one individual whose destiny is an enigma, is a puzzle to us. You mean should the land, the earth be abandoned? Should you conclude that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, does not supervise and does not rule and does not determine the destiny of mankind? You want to remove the rak. Rak means HaKadosh Baruch Hu from his place, in spite of the fact that you suffered so much. And we don't understand. Let's assume that we don't understand. You were a perfect man and you suffered for no reason. But it's absurd to say that because of that experience we should simply conclude that there is no hashgocha, there is no providence, no supervision in this world. This is the plain shot of what? Of what is it? Of the person. Now what does the Gemara say? Take a look. Shnayim shenichnasu li'isparel. Two people went in to daven. Particularly in Talmudic times, the shul were outside of town. It was dangerous to walk. It's in New York now, on the west side. It is the same. Why not? Even here, they beat up our boys. Those Simchas Torah night, Corey Road and Tom Road, everywhere. Yeah, not black hooligans, but white hooligans. Jewish boys, it's glory, it reflects glory upon the Jewish people. They beat him up. All right. And you walked out, you didn't join him, you didn't wait for him to finish the daven in order to walk with him home. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not accept the tefillah, he doesn't accept the tefillah. He considers the tefillah as abominable, he tears it up in his face. Shene'emar, Teref nafshe be'apei, Alemancho te'oze veretz. What's it got to do with this? Delayed al shegirim l'Shechinah she'testaret me'Yisrael. Shene'emar vayetak tzur memkeim, because tzur refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ve'im tzur Baruch Hu. Shene'emar tzur yelot choteshi. How does the Gemara explain it? Because by understanding what the Gemara, the link between the Gemara's saying and the Pasuk will understand the role of Beis HaKnesses as well. What is the idea? What was the reason for Eve's harangue, so to say, and his complete indictment, Kavi Yochel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Complete indictment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whoever studied Eve knows what he said. What was lying at the root of Eve's complaint? He carried the complaint. Like a prosecutor. He wanted to indict the order, prevailing in this world, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is completely indifferent, to human woe and to human troubles and to human despair, and there is no justice in this world, and there is no fairness. It's chaos, prevails, anarchy and chaos. What was it? Of course, he suffered a great deal. Of course, but selfishness. He was so much involved with himself, to such a degree. After all, he was a great person here, but he was so much involved with himself, to such a degree, that he could not realize that he is just one individual. No matter how prominent he was, no matter how just he was, and how fine he was, after all, he praised himself, quite a lot, he said, but it's just one individual, just one grain of sand. And you cannot condemn the world, the order of the world, and simply say that because Job suffered, it means there is no hashgocha, and there is no justice, and there is no fairness, and there is no grace. There is just brutality in this world shows is indicative of what? Of selfishness. As a matter of fact, if you take a look, the way the Pasuk depicts Eve's life, take a look. Interesting how Chazal. Who studied Eve? Vayiki Kifu Yemei HaMishneh, and it's a very funny way of life. I mean, the program was very funny. What did he do, these children? What did he do, his children? Volchov Vanov, and his children went. He was a Mishneh, they used to make a feast. Beis he had 7 sons, so it was a full week. And then it was the next cycle, the second cycle, you see. Vayiki Kifu Yemei HaMishneh, when the Yemei HaMishneh 7 days were concluded, means every Saturday, every Shabbos, so the 7th day, a feasting. Vayishlach Vayikachin, the Eve called them. Vayishkim Babeker, Velo Elis Mispakulam, we used to sacrifice, offer 7 Elei, and the 7 Eleis. Koma Riye Vuluchoto Ibonai Ubeicho Lekim Bilvova. And the Pasuk says, Kocho Yase Iev Kol HaYomim. Why does the Pasuk emphasize that? Why does the Pasuk tell us? The ceremonial that every Saturday after the Yemei HaMishneh were concluded, we used to offer 7 Eleis. Perhaps one of his children sinned and had an ugly thought or something, rebelled, and then they started feasting again. So it shows that he was only concerned with himself. With himself, with his family. He had absolutely no understanding for the people, for the troubles and the suffering of others. He was just concerned with his people. It is a certain isolationism which prevailed. Completely, I want to be, there are many tzaddikim like here. You call it a tzaddik in Pels, of course. He feels warm, even though other people shiver because of the frost. Yeah. You see, he had no concern for his people. Absolutely no concern for his people. If he was a Jew, you don't know whether he was a Jew. Chazal are inclined to say that he was a Jew here. And Chazal asked, when was he? And interesting is how Chazal and Beis asked, when did he leave? Very strange. The Prophet doesn't say when he leave. You know why the Prophet doesn't say when he lived? Because Job is a fellow who could be found in every generation, at every time, age. I mean, it's a very typical representative of human society. The perfect tzaddik who is perfect but does not care about others. And he's a judge who will sit in judgment. Very strict judge will sit in judgment if someone else should sin or should do something which is not warranted. But he doesn't try to change or to reform people or to educate people or simply to worry about the destiny of the life. Interesting is that at the end of Job, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him back what he had, on the contrary, gave him back twice as much, as much. So the Pasuk says, V'adeshem shof shvus Eve, and God returned to Eve whatever he lost, compensate him, b'yispalei, when he prayed, ba'ad re'eyu, when he prayed for his friends. It was the first time Eve said a prayer for someone else. Eve made a mishiberach for someone else. I mean, someone else is sick, all right. Your son is sick. Eve offered hundreds of korbanos. But someone else, a next door neighbor, a poor neighbor, is sick. You say, come to shul and say mishiberach. Baba Shenoda is matonim. Matonim means nothing. No, he never said it. He never did it. He was not interested. He was indifferent. To the destiny of others.
And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ve'atok chushi v'porim v'shivu eilis, Yelchu al avdi Yev, V'alisem eila ba'atchem, V'yev avdi yispal aleichem. This is the test. Will it be capable now, after he went through, the disaster and the experienced actually the death of his sons and destruction of his family. And I would like to know, did he shed off his selfishness, or is still as selfish and egocentric as he was before? So that the Shem Shuaz Shovish Musiev Bispal Leibadre. And that's what the Gemara says. Teref Nafshi Biapi, that's what Bill Ashura says. Because you judge the world just by your experiences. You cannot judge the world by your experiences. It doesn't mean that you don't understand your destiny, what happened to your experiences, that the whole order in this world is irrational. Because of this, should the earth be abandoned? And we should arrive at conclusions, less din, Rahman Islam, less dayan. There's no justice and no mercy in this world. The Yetak Tzum came, we should make a Kodesh Baruch Hu move from the world. This is exactly. Shnaim shenichnasu leispalel, and he davened, and apparently he was in need, and he prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Yotz v'kodam echad leispalel, he finished his davening before. V'lehintin es chavere, did not wait, so it means that not concerned. After all, he asked for protection and shelter, and so forth. All right? Give thought. Why don't you think that your next who davens here, stands next to you, who will need shelter and protection when he will walk home? He will walk home alone. Why don't you join him? So apparently you're not concerned with him. This is here. This is Job. He's terfim philosophy before. What does it show? What does it show? What does it show? To me, the Beis HaKnesses is what is Beis dedicated to? What is Beis HaKnesses dedicated to? Tefillah and to something else. To three things it is dedicated. Three things. Nothing else should be done in Beis HaKnesses. Nothing else. Beis HaKnesses is dedicated. Of course. If a Beis HaKnesses does not simply give priority, is the kedushah, Beis HaKnesses is Torah, study, is a matter of Tefillah, ומחשבים בשום חשבנס, חוץ מחשבנס של מצווה ושל צדקה. As a matter of fact, you know very well that during the Middle Ages, Talmudic time, next to Beis HaKnesses was the shelter for the time. This is the Kiddush Friday night. Why do you say Kiddush in Beis HaKnesses Friday night? You say Kiddush before a meal. It's a remnant of olden times. Noch mean strangers, itinerant beggars. It was not the government. They had no hotel, they had no inns. Is important because we don't know, we don't realize how important tzedakah is to Tefillah. The mitzvah is to give tzedakah before Tefillah. Tzedek lefanav yahalech, you know that. Is one of the three main aspects. This is the third. Beis HaKnesses is Amrokim Kavua. Beis HaKnesses simply is the place where all the tefillahs of individuals merge into one tefillah of the Knesses Yisrael. Beis HaKnesses is the place where a person is called upon and also inspired to engage in deeds of charity. And if one davens is power and displays unconcern, complete indifference to his neighbor, so that he this is basically interesting. Is din himtin maschore, and if he waited for him, and he was busy, wasn't he? He waited and he was busy, and I sacrificed an appointment I had very important to me. And din himtin maschore, I want you to understand Chazal as always. Chazal always. I'm not supposed to wait. I finish. I do wait for someone else to finish. Because I'm concerned. Or this itself, perseverance, is deserving of faith. Where do they have this case? Chazal so much. The virtue of waiting patiently. Miriam, the Mishnah said it's very strange. When Miriam was stricken with leprosy, she was isolated from the community like a leper. The only nostra people, the whole people, the Knesses Yisrael did not move mechatzeres the Osif Miriam until Miriam recovered from leprosy. So she could join the camp. So Chazal say, why should the people have 600,000 Jews and wait for a woman who took? Why was it necessary? Because this little once waited also for something. The nature was put in the river, abandoned, but she had patience to wait. Because if she hadn't waited, what would have happened? If Miriam hadn't waited, what would have happened? Moshe wouldn't have been identified as a Jew. You understand? Yocheved wouldn't have actually brought him up, nursed him, and Moshe would have been raised as a complete Egyptian. Would have never gone out to see what his brother did. And the whole Gula, who knows, would have... Patience, perseverance, and the ability to wait. Not to despair. Basically, it is a Dane said it. Dane is right, Ibsen, famous player. He said that the moves. Precious virtue of the Jewish people, he was a boy, is its ability to wait. We've been waiting for Mashiach 1900 years. We are still waiting, and every day you say, Rapishi is Mamea, Bechol, and nevertheless, this is actually typical of the Knesses Yisrael. And I'm not here, I'm very serious. The ability to wait and not to despair. The ability and not to give up. And the ability, simply to hope, to have faith that the future will be different, will change. And not to abandon. That's exactly what keeps us alive. I'll tell you frankly, you should. It was a very difficult task, still difficult. It was 500 times as difficult 27 years ago, 28 years ago when I founded the school. I'm not speaking of myself, from my experiences. I cannot speak about the experiences of other people. Because it was very difficult. There's no money at all. You have a budget of $25 a week and you have no money to cut the media budget. You understand? But we have been waiting. Waiting. She waited just a couple of hours. I don't know how long she waited.
She waited perhaps a couple of days. In Chumash, you don't know. Pateret Baspare. Do you know how it might have taken a week? It would have died maybe in little box. Most probably it took. More days. People have patience. People have centuries. Who displayed, special. Some people cannot wait. People come in, I come to sure that am I the ninth or the 10th at the time? If it's the 10th, he will come over, but if it's the 9th, why should he wait? And sometimes waiting, human experiences, some individuals reach a certain mood which resembles the one of what you have need faith and to wait for our condition. Many times we don't understand things, but we have the patience to wait, study events which follow on a certain experience which was appear to be irrational. You understand me? Then the good people do again the deadline. Years, sometimes centuries later, and perhaps millennia later, you look backwards, in retrospect, you understand that which strength of character. Who gave it to us? Who was actually I would say, use the term by Kierkegaard, because the prince of waiting. Now we know. How do you know? First, we can tell you. One of the great attributes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ability to wait. Wait patiently. What is Rachapayim? What's Rachapayim? Patience. Rachapayim is a long faith. You passively wait. No? Interesting is, that is by Maya Meshe Vayishtachu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu proclaimed the 13 Midas HaRabim, the 13 principles of mercy, this which contain what mystery, and what contain what, so that Shuvah is contained, it is Maya Meshe, the Gemara asks, which midah is the culmination of the principle of the it means here the pseras hatshuva, the message of tshuva, the message of mercy, reached its climax. What midah actually, where, in what midah do all 13 midahs culminate? Which midah is the pinnacle of all midahs? So Chazal say, erech hapayim. Not Rav Chesed ve'emes, Hashem Deshem, Tilrachum, V'chanun, erech hapayim, Rav Chesed ve'emes is the height, the apex of the message of tshuva is erech hapayim. Why erech hapayim? Not Rav Chesed ve'emes, but erech hapayim. Why erech hapayim? Why is erech hapayim preferred to Rav Chesed ve'emes? Do you understand my question? I would say one man donor thinks Rav Chesed ve'emes, but one man donor is erech hapayim. What does Rav Chesed ve'emes convey to us? What message? What does Rav Chesed ve'emes convey to us? God is full of grace and truth. It means he accepts the sinner, the possibility of tshuva. For instance, modern jurisprudence, criminal law does not accept the sinner. If you kill a person, even after let us assume that the judge or the jury is convinced that the person is actually repenting his deed, and he wants to amend his ways, so they let him go? Oh no. They might give him, some mitigating circumstances, will give him a milder sentence, not a severe sentence. But they won't let him go. Says, oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rav Chesed ve'emes, is simply, if you say chotosi and you say it sincerely, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu washes solve the sin and completely, and he's forgiven. Yeah, this is great, of course. But sometimes the man is not fast. I commit a crime, I commit a sin, and I don't feel guilty. So in order that the tshuva, the message of tshuva be implemented, HaKadosh Baruch Hu must what? Must have patience to wait for the Roshe to come back to him. To wait. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu can wait 70 years. Vad yemei techakele. Im Yoshuv miyate kable. Rav Chesed could not be implemented. It's a beautiful midah, but it cannot be implemented unless, in addition to Rav Chesed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu displays another attribute. That the patience, infinite, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, is infinite, limitless, boundless patience and perseverance. Vad yemei Kelef shonim ben Yechakim Esmei, Lashmur Baloilo. And then, Toshe ben Shadako Adiktuka Shalnefesh. All right, this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it means that waiting, the ability to wait. And also, and this also is important to us. Then we see sometimes a friend of ours, an acquaintance of ours, does not behave properly. We are all human. We're all sinful. We make mistakes. Sometimes you make a mistake in public. And of course, you are embarrassed because your friend, don't condemn him immediately. Don't condemn him. Act like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Erech hapayim. Wait. He himself will realize that he acted in an ugly way. He'll come to you and he'll ask for pardon. And if he didn't ask the next morning, wait another day. And if he didn't ask the same week, wait another week. While a week, you may wait years. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu can wait, can a human being? In Yahadus, the ethics of waiting plays a very important role. Don't be quick in judgment. Don't condemn a person immediately. Who else could wait? Avram, of course. Avram was the prince of waiting. Avram waited. Waited for Yitzchak 100 years. It's enough. Waited. Okay. Who else waited? Who else could wait? What if Shomar is Adar? What means Shomar? Shom means waiting. Interesting that in Hebrew the word shomer has again a double connotation.
Shomer means in Hebrew waiting, and guarding, protecting. Why? What is the connection between these? Shomer nafshe, of course. Lishna, hit nisha re'eu, kelim k'esed lishna, not to wait, but simply, but to guard, to protect. What is semantically the link between shomer waiting in Hebrew and shomer protecting? Because a guard must have patience. You cannot be a guard unless you have patience. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is called Shomer Yisrael, the guardian of the Jews, he must also wait for a Jew. So fourth one, and this is the Knesses Yisrael. It is very unique. It's unique of the Knesses Yisrael. No other nation can do that as much. Vim himtilei maschore, interesting as Chazal say. Vim himtilei, how long did you wait for him? He finished in Esrei, 5 minutes to 7, let us say. And how long can the other fellow daven? I just read a nice anecdote in the Hebrew press in Eretz Yisrael. One called his friend. So his wife told him on the phone, he's busy now. He cannot answer the phone. Wait for him. So he waited. Then, a few minutes later, he came over and took the receiver and he answered the call. She said, you were davening. I said, how do you know? She said, if you were eating, it would have taken more time. So how long could you wait for him? How long could you wait for him? Well, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. How long does a Jew take? How long does it take to finish an Esrei? 10, 15 minutes. Just he waited 10 minutes for him. I don't know, but he was looking at the watch, was he? But all right, he was patient. Patient, didn't he? He's maschore, so what does it do? So what kind of rewards you should give him? A medal? What? Congressional medal of honor? No. So the Gemara, take a look at the Gemara says. Rabbi says, he's deserving of all those blessings. What kind of blessings? If you hearken to my commandments, your peace would be like the river. And your justice like the waves of the sea. And your children will be like the sand. And your descendants like the grains. Interesting. Reward us for 10 or 15 minutes waiting. Why did Chazal choose that pasuk? Chazal I want to convey that to wait for a person, to have concern for another person, it means wait that he was concerned. He cared for him. To care just for another person for 5 minutes, not sacrificing anything. He didn't sacrifice anything. He didn't give up anything. Of course he wanted to go home. And it wasn't right. So he waited 5 minutes for him until he finished. So just 5 minutes thought, thinking of another person. Just to display concern. Just almost insignificant concern. Is deserving of the greatest blessings. Because this is the idea of Beis HaKnesses. Together with other people. Why is Sholem, peace, like a river? But why is it? Because the river, you see, the river when it rises during the spring thaw, above its bed, so it inundates the river. You take a look at the water of the river flowing in its bed, you may think the river is isolated from its environment. This is not always so. At certain times, when the water begins to rise, so it will inundate the environment. It will fertilize, arid soil. It will take arid
land converted into fertile soil. It means the river is not, it's like chesed. It's very interesting that the Chachmei Kabbalah say, as chesed, the imagery of chesed is the river or the sea. The sea, the tide indicating the environments, and the river during springtime, during the spring thaw, when it rises above the bed and actually it inundates the environments and the sense. It's Kotzchok Igali Ayom. What did he show? He showed just for 5 minutes that he is concerned not only with himself, but with somebody else. That's why the brachos which will be given to him is like the rising river, which knows no limits, no barriers, inundates the environments. Yizgadol v'yizkaresh me'er Rabo.